Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Fort Wayne Community School Board of School Trustees. We would at this time invite those of you who are with us tonight, along with those at home, to follow with us as we stand and recite our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call of members this evening. Steve, starting with you.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Tom Smith, 3rd District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Ann Duff, District at Large.
Jordan Lebemoff, the 4th District.
And I'm Mark Giaquina. I'm an at-large member of the school board. Seated with us at the dais tonight are Barb Trout, and Barb will be administering the oath of office to the new board member. I guess the rest of us don't have to take we could all take it again if we wanted to, I suppose. But just, Tom, have you administered the oath yet?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. And our superintendent, Dr. Wendy Robinson. And before going on, I just want to say, over the course of the Christmas, New Year break, Dr. Robinson lost her mother, and Dr. Robinson, I want to extend on behalf of the board our sympathy and just say this, no finer daughter than you has ever been born, and you were just amazing with respect to the care that you provided to your mom while you were also providing a lot of care to your 30,000 children here at Fort Wayne Community Schools, and from time to time a few more on the board. But we really have watched the devotion firsthand, and I just want to say to you, I with all admiration, you were a wonderful daughter to your mom.
Done with love. Thank you.
So we'll move on to the oath of office for our new and re-elected board members. Barb Trout, the clerk of the board, will ask those of you who were elected in this last election to stand and raise your right hands.
Mr. Corona, Mr. Smith, if you'll repeat after me, I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body, so help me God.
as a member of this governing body, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Hey,
Congratulations.
thanks, Steve.
And
Congratulations.
Tom, congratulations. Steve, again, congratulations to you. Tom, typically the way we communicate on this board is through tweets in the middle of the night.
Thank you.
So feel free to engage as you will.
I just saw an article this morning about your best thinking happens at 4 a.m., so.
Well, there you go. There you go. We're on to, he's on to something,
Yeah.
and we'll do.
So,
Trump's got that figured out already.
All that, you think, okay.
You know that.
It's, well, it's time for the election of officers of the school board, and with the assent of the board, I will conduct the meeting up to the point where we elect our new officers. And I would also like to exercise the prerogative of the chair in nominating as president of the Fort Wayne Community School Board the current vice president of the board, Julie Hollingsworth. And in support of my nomination, I would say this. Julie is known by her fellow board members as our school librarian, in a sense, because she's the one who keeps us current on the articles that come out from all around the country involving public education. She is an incredible advocate of public education. And in the time I have served with her on the board and as a fellow officer on the board, she has been very quick to grasp all of the issues surrounding the growth and vitality of the Fort Wayne Community Schools. And I just, Julie, I told you this today, but I so admire the manner in which you come to the meetings prepared, the manner in which you approach problems, whether they're school problems, personality problems, whatever they are. And I can think of no better person to take over the chair. So at this time, I place Julie's name into nomination as president of the school board, and I would ask that the board confirm and approve the nomination by acclamation. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. So with that, we're too cheap to afford a gavel here, but I have one on my wall from my old city council days, and I brought it here so that we could have sort of a ceremonial passing of the gavel. So with that, Julie, I'm going to get up and move away from this seat. I'm not going to hit you with it, but I
Okay, I
am going
thought-
to hand it to you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mark.
And with that, a little round of applause, I think would be.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I do want the gavel back.
I don't know. Pry it out of my dead fingers. Well, thanks, Mark, and I really appreciate your leadership in my 6 years on the board. You've certainly helped me learn, what it means to serve on a board and all the duties and responsibilities therein, and have certainly made it easy, hopefully, for me to make the transition. So I guess our first order of business is also, are there any other nominations?
Well, for other positions,
Positions,
Madam
yes.
Chair, I'd like to nominate Mark Giaquina for the position of Vice President.
Okay,
I willingly accept that demotion.
And if you would like me to continue,
Sure.
may I place the name of Ann Duff up for consideration for the position of Secretary?
I'll second, and I move the nominations be closed.
okay, very good. All those in favor of the vice presidential and secretary nominations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Glenna, welcome. Should we also do,
I could do it after the meeting, or I could do it now if you would like.
okay. We'll do your oath after the meeting then. Is that
Sounds
okay?
good.
Okay, very good. Well, since we have no awards and recognitions tonight, that brings us to the consent agenda. And those, of course, are the items that come to us on a recurring basis, although one of those is something that we do at the beginning of each year, and that is to appoint a treasurer and a deputy treasurer. Sherry Neilinger as treasurer and Stefan Pittenger and Alicia Stapleton as deputy treasurers for the calendar year 2017. And they are bonded, of course, $200,000 for the treasurer and $50,000 for the deputy treasurers. The other items in the consent agenda are the minutes from our last couple of meetings in December, vouchers and payroll, which of course are on file for 7 years, should any member of the public decide to peruse them, and the personnel report. Dr. Robinson, was there anything in the personnel report you wanted to highlight?
Not this evening, thank you.
Okay. Any member wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay, well, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same. Okay, carried.
Madam President.
I had to use it once.
Oh, I know why we don't have a gavel. One thing I always like pointing out is you mentioned that the treasurer's bond is $200,000, the deputy treasurer is $50,000, and I think it's always worth pointing out that does not mean that Ms. Neidlinger is 4 times more likely to steal than Mr. Pittenger. Those are the so for Sherry's sake, we just want to make it clear those are the statutory amounts, and we just approve those. So we've never had to use them.
Thanks for that explanation. Well, that is actually, thank goodness for me, in my first official meeting, that is all we have. We have no old business or new business, so that brings us to comments. Steve?
The only item I'd like to pass on is that I think I mentioned at a previous meeting before Christmas that I was reading a book at Lincoln Elementary, and the book to third graders is the name, is Pox. It's 226 pages long, a little longer than I anticipated, and so did the teacher, but we're at chapter 9, and we believe that before the school year ends that we will finish the book. It's actually got me really involved in it, and so I'm going to continue to come back to Mrs. Dickmeyer's class, and we will finish the book. But it's been a great experience in bonding with this class, and we're having a really, really good time. Some of the words are very challenging, but as I've talked to people, they've encouraged me to keep at it and really force the students to figure out what was that word he just said. We sometimes explain them, but there is a dictionary in the room, and hopefully they're looking up some of those words that prove a bit challenging to third graders. But we're having a blast, and once we finish the book, I will give you a book report.
Glenna?
I was out at Washington this week for the congressional swearing-in and of Jim Banks, and was able to meet some of the LAs and some of the staffers there. So that kind of laid a little bit of the groundwork for when Steve and I go at the end of this month for an educational conference in Washington, and also an opportunity to hopefully influence the direction of education, because I think this new administration coming in, as well as the Republican majority in Congress, are going to be looking at education. I think it's going to be very important for our story to be heard. So I'm looking forward to that later this month.
Good.
Well, I just want to say I'm really happy to be here, and I want to thank all the people that supported me. And I'm really looking forward to working with the board and learning from all you guys and moving ahead. I do want to say that Glenna was just talking about some of the things that's going on at the national level. I saw a little blurb in the paper the other day about, all the ideas that our local legislators and governor want to implement in the upcoming years. And Governor Holcomb said that he's very interested in funding pre-K, state-funded pre-K. I just think that is great. It's something that I've been for a long time. And clearly when students can get, the sooner students can get in school, the better off they are. But there's also another aspect to this that I think is very important if state-funded pre-K comes about. And that is, the sooner we get children into the public school system, and assuming they have a good experience and their families have a good experience, they're going to want to stay in the public school system and not opt out necessarily for private schools or charter schools, et cetera. So I think that's one of the kind of the hidden benefits of state-funded pre-K, is that if we can get these kids in there as soon as possible, we may keep them there for a much longer period of time. Thank you.
And just taking up off a couple of the comments that have been made, the NSBA meeting is in Denver, and if we sign up by tomorrow, there's a reduced price I saw. So Barb, if you would remind everyone to indicate whether or not they intend to attend, that would be a good thing. Secondly, with regard to pre-K, this board is unanimous in its understanding and encouragement of pre-K programs. As we all know, the sooner young children from the age of birth to 3.5 years old hear vocabulary and a lot of it, the better they are. And that's not just a sociological phenomenon, it's a physiological phenomenon as the brain opens and closes windows. We have to really shove vocabulary into those open windows. And Steve is finding out, even though you're reciting words to a young person that they may not understand, it's really good for them to hear those words because they begin immediately associating the word they don't understand with the surrounding sentence, and they pick up all kinds of tools that way. So that's absolutely essential. What is very unfortunate is that we talk about pre-K on the one hand, but the fine print is often something entirely different. The fine print pushes the pre-K program to the churches and guarantees a voucher for attendance, which carries over to private schools when they leave pre-K into kindergarten. So it's a really, fortunately, it can tend to be a very pernicious strategy that people don't understand when they initially hear and support the idea behind pre-K. So it's up to school boards like us who do understand and have the bully pulpit to make sure that the rest of the public understand what new member Smith just said, that we ought to use pre-K as an opportunity to expose our students to the public schools and not turn something as important as pre-K over to social services. It deserves to be in the hands of educators like Dr. Robinson and her team. Well, with that having been said, I'll leave other comments to others.
Ian?
Since we just finished our Christmas break and school's back in session, I think besides spending time with my family at home, the other excitement of our Christmas break was the holiday basketball tourney. And it has been the last few years. But it's just great to see a packed house, excited fans. They are very passionate about basketball and getting into the game, and when you're in the audience, even if you don't have anybody you know playing for a team, you can't help but get excited just with being with that crowd. So I just wanted to thank all those staff people who were involved in organizing that, 'cause I know that takes a lot of work and a lot of staff to get that all organized. And I think that part of the excitement was using my board pass to get myself in, but also just finding some random person in line and letting them go in with me. I figured that it was a wash because my husband went before me most of the time and he paid, so he normally be my guest, so letting someone else be all balanced out. But I did meet one gentleman in the parking lot after a game, and we were already in our car, and he couldn't find his car, we assumed, because I could see lights flashing over on this car, but this guy walking the wrong way. So we think he was using his clicker to find his car. So my daughter, who has this passion for elderly people, made me go help him find his car. So
That was me.
that was you. But we got him. I walked him over to his car. We found he kept beeping his thing, and I showed him where it was. And then I met him the next day, just accidentally. I don't think he knew it was me again, but I had parked right next to him in the morning. And so we walked up together, and he said, "I hope they don't shoo us out and make us pay the $6 twice." Because he said at another game, there was probably a couple hours between the games, so they sent them all out and made them all come back in and pay their $6 again. So of course I couldn't help but offer my guest. He was my guest that day. But then that reminded me that we do have the super senior form that seniors can fill out and send in and get a pass to any athletic event and any fine arts program in Fortin Community Schools. So when I went home between games, I printed one out for him and gave that to him, although it doesn't work for the holiday tourney.
That's right.
According to my mom.
That's correct.
But it was interesting because Wayne doesn't have any rails to get up the bleachers. So it might be kind of nice, in addition to their super senior pass, since they can't use it, maybe giving them a front row seat, labeling it seniors or something, because my mom couldn't get up, and it was packed when we had gotten to that game, so there was no way she could maneuver around. And this gentleman was also sitting in the front. He told me on our walk-in that he always had to sit in the front and get there early, make sure he got his front row. So maybe it'd be nice to reserve those. They did put a few chairs by the entrance, but they said that the fire department gets a little upset with that, so just a thought.
No real comments, but just hope that my wife and I are not the only ones that are trying to work hard to get back into the school groove after the vacation time. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but we're making it back to getting the kids up on time.
Dr. Robinson?
No comments at this time.
No? I wanted to share an article I found, well, it's a blog post, I guess, that I think I sent to members of the board. And it was written by a parent who also happened to be a teacher. And it could have been a parent in several states, but it happened to be in Texas. And the title was, "What My Kids Have Learned from Going to an F School." And basically, it just highlights, these parents purposely chose an economically disadvantaged school for their kids, and it just talks about all the wonderful experiences they've had, and it just makes me think, almost everything mentioned in the article, makes me think of all the activities that we've heard about in our own schools. The fact that they were challenged, the fact that they had some of the best teachers anywhere, participation in the dance club. They had a Battle of the Books competition, which was a highlight of this school. The kids learned to build robots, learned to play chess, participated in a global problem-solving competition, community service, they collected things for gifts for other students at Christmas time. And, it occurs to me that, those are all things that are never measured by a standardized test, and those are not metrics by which we grade our schools. And there's so much more to the school experience that can never be diluted down into one single grade, and that was just another reminder of that. I think probably a parent at any one of our schools, probably at any public school in the state, in the country, could probably write a similar article.
Although they couldn't
If
at
they're
our
not-
schools because we don't have but 2 F schools, which has always allowed us to say to folks we meet on the street, well, wait a minute, how is it that we have A-rated schools and out of our 50, maybe 2 F-rated schools? Well,
Right.
it isn't that this board sits around at the beginning of the year and says, hey, let's put all of our attention into these schools who we want to be A schools. It's that we recognize, as do most thinking people, that you're measuring economic wealth
Right.
rather than effort going into the 4 walls of the building.
Right. Yeah, you're measuring input, not output.
Input, not output.
That said, thank you to, fellow board members and showing your confidence in me and giving me the gavel.
Loaning you.
Oh, yeah, loaning me the gavel. I might get one of these. But it's very much appreciated. So,
Move we adjourn?
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
And next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight. The microphone is open if there is anyone who